What's with the slow pedal? Speeders and slow drivers, they're driving me insane. Can we find a middle ground? It's a driving game. Lights on, lights off, they can't make up their mind. Flashing like a rave party, it's a scary sight. Entitled people acting like they own the street, but with their driving skills, they're just causing grief. Traffic jam, hear the honking, it's a symphony. Entangled in a mess of pure insanity. Special people making U-turns on Young Street, blocking all the lanes, don't you have some courtesy?
That was just to cover up my technical startup stuff. And now's the actual show. And by the way, I tested this out. I checked to see if we fixed the mumbly during this. This is in fact another test, because I want to know if my voice is being blurred out by the music. Blurred out, wrong word. It feels like blur. If you listen to the replay, or maybe you're hearing it this way right now, it doesn't sound very good. Anyway, this is Ask a Traffic Cop. My name is Sean Shapiro. I am a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day. It's pretty magical. It's pretty awesome. I'm still shocked that I can do it. It is Wednesday all day, and hopefully it's not a rainy one. But the fact is, it is what it is. That's what it is. Brandon says, good morning, all in this amazing community. Let's have a fun day. Stay safe. Great message. And I'm just noticing that Xavier jumped in from TikTok, which means TikTok link is working. We actually did a test a little earlier this morning. Around 9 o'clock, I went online testing a multi-camera setup using Ecamm Pro for the live stream through an RTMP tunnel into Restream, which then went to an RTMP tunnel out to TikTok, and it's almost working perfectly. I say almost because it's not working perfectly. It's just better than it could be. No, it could be better than it is, but it's not as good as it could be. We're almost getting there. What's holding me back from pulling the trigger on this is that I can put messages up from all the platforms except TikTok on the multicam. It's great because then I can look at this camera and that camera, and it all works out, and having guests will be better, and the world will all be magical. We're so close, but not there yet. So we're still in the Restream studio today. Julie Massey says, good morning, and everyone. Oh, good morning, and everyone out there. Yes. Good morning to you, too. Michael H. says, special people. Who are you talking to, special people? Who said, did I say special people? Who said special people? Tom B. says, good morning, Sean. Good morning to you, Tom. Sean Chen, who doesn't like capitals, says, good morning, PC Shapiro. Sean Chen is a friend to the show who's come out and helped us with all sorts of cool stuff. He's a student, and moderator is in the house. Hello, moderator. We have the assistance of a moderator today. We'll see how that goes. Moderator in training, no pressure at all. I probably created pressure by saying that. Anyway, Tom says that the music is, it's not blurred out. The music is not jumbled, but it's annoying. Really? I kind of like that intro. Well, or maybe the annoying was the rap music. That song, I remembered it being better the first time I heard it. Let's see here. Xavier wants to know about my opinion on corrupt officers. I think it's pretty clear, and I think I can easily say that with the agreement of just about everybody, that corrupt officers suck. Yeah, nobody likes a corrupt officer. Police officers are particularly sensitive about people who are wearing our uniform and not good people, like criminals. Corruption, criminal. So, yeah, we hate them. I think hate's an appropriate word. We don't want someone wearing this uniform and hurting or working against the trust and community that we build every day we go out there and put our lives on the line to protect the good people of our cities and communities. And then someone takes advantage of that and then makes us all look bad and makes our jobs harder when all we're trying to do is help other people. So, yeah, I've got pretty strong opinions about it. Chase says, good morrow. Good morrow to you, sir. Is good moral the response to good moral? Okay. What is this? Paraniano says, Office Light, I want to ask you why the youngest of picking up. I don't know what you're asking, Parani. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but this is the question that was asked. Yeah, I don't understand. Okay, Akela Dracona says, greetings and salutations. And then they had a follow-up question after guns. They said, why are street races still going on in the nighttime? Until we find them, they do what they want, right? Police get notified, and then we go and respond to them, and then we prevent them from continuing by way of arresting or charging or dispersing or whatever the officer investigating chooses to do in response to what they see. Generally speaking, it's charges. And hopefully these people learn. Is it Janelle Kennedy says, hi. Hello, Janelle. Josh says, how do I find the offense number for a ticket I lost? I need to pay it. That's a good question, Josh. It depends on what kind of ticket we're talking about. Was it a ticket issued by police? Was it issued by the Toronto police? If it is a ticket that we issued, if you go to a police station, they should be able to look it up and see the ticket number in our system. They won't give it to you over the phone because of what should we call it? I read something and distracted myself from Michael. So if you go into the station, they can give it to you with ID, but they won't read it to you over the phone because of privacy issues. And what distracted me was Michael saying the Suno song said special people. Now I understand what you're talking about. Stephen Bell says, good morning, Sean. Chase, do we have multiple Chases? What's going on here? Chase says, good morning from Mississauga. We got a question. Oh, and okay, now I understand why. I'm like, I don't remember flagging these questions, but it is questions being flagged by the moderator. So moderators in full gear. Thank you very much, moderator. And one of those questions is coming from GA, who is on Twitter /X/ a platform that we don't always hear from because not everybody understands that you can ask us questions. So let's talk about that before we get too deep into there. And I'll let the moderator keep moderating. We're broadcasting on all these platforms. So whether you're on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, or X. See, I said X instead of Twitter this time. Yeah, you can ask us questions. Now, if you're over yonder, the screen that's way off to the side, if I'm looking there, it's because I'm reading the Instagram. And so far, no questions asked there, which is good because that means I didn't miss anybody. Much better experience on every platform other than Instagram. Even Facebook will give you a message integrated into our system so we can put you on screen. So if you're on Instagram, please leave Instagram and come to one of the other platforms. And wherever you are, please like, follow, subscribe, depending on what button is presented to you. It really helps us show the algorithm that we have value, that you're following us, that you're sharing our content. We want to help as many people as possible. Also, I have a secret desire to hit 1 million people, 1 million followers on TikTok, just because personal goals are important. I'd love to be on 1 million followers on all platforms, but one step at a time. We're actually 665,000.2 on TikTok, which is astounding. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. I can't think of any other words to use right now, but it's awesome. Personal goal, 1 million followers. I remember when my personal goal was 17,000, then 50,000, then 100,000. I never imagined we'd ever get this big. And yet we continue to grow all the time. So thank you to all of you who watch and participate, and especially those of you who participate in the live stream, because that's what makes the live stream good. Otherwise, we would just talk about what I had for dinner last night, which wasn't that good or bad. It was just what happened. All right, after the live stream, I download this episode and I upload it to a podcasting platform, formerly known as Anchor, now known as Spotify for podcasters. And it goes up to all these other platforms and many more that aren't on screen, but Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, and Spotify and other ones. It's changing all the time, right? Sometimes these platforms, let that feel loose for a second. Like Google Podcasts, is Google got out of the podcasting game? I don't get it. Anyway, it's a thing. But you can get this as a replay without burning your data or breaking the law while driving. So you can listen to this if you don't have time to hang out during the live stream itself. You can still get the information. I even listen to it sometimes. I really do. I want to hear and ensure that the sound quality is good, that, there's good flow. So I critique myself, which is something I've never asked. Could you, if you do happen to listen to the podcast, could you leave a review on Apple Podcasts in particular? Because apparently that makes a difference. It's always nice to get a review, but apparently it actually helps ranking and gets more people seeing the show, which is good. All right, or would be good. As many people as possible. The goal is to help people. That's all the goal is. Vision Zero Enforcement Team, that's what I got to talk about next anyway. Vision Zero Enforcement Team are a group of dedicated officers who go out into the city every single day trying to change driver behavior one ticket at a time. They're quite literally finding people who choose to engage in behavior that's serious and needs to be stopped. We're talking about those who drive above the speed limit, and people think, well, that must mean stunt drivers. Well, yes, stunt driving is one of those things. But even if you're doing 5 or 10 over the speed limit, you are putting lives at risk. You are increasing the chances of you becoming involved in a collision, and that means putting lives at risk, and that's not okay. Aggressive driving, obviously. If you're driving like a numpty, you shouldn't be driving, and they are stopping drivers who drive that way and correcting the behavior through tickets. If you're driving distracted, well, you're a piece of work, because those distracted drivers are causing collisions throughout our city and across the planet, really. But we're focused on Toronto. If you are driving with your head on your phone, you're not driving. You're just lucky that you haven't hit anything yet or hurt someone. So the other of the big four is impaired driving, and that's still happening all the time. In fact, I'm just working on some stats to bring you a video that we'll release on Friday talking about how many people we arrested last weekend. We always like to talk about that. We took a little hiatus from it. We're back in the game, reporting on how many people we arrested every weekend. And obviously, we're arresting people every single day for it, but I like to focus on the weekend because people like to go out and party on the weekend. And that's great. Just do it responsibly. All right, back to stuff and things. Do we have any other hellos before we get into questions? We got Radek with good morning. We have. Okay. I'm going to start looking at questions. We talked about this one, so I can unflag it. And then we've got good morning. Good morning. This is the Twitter question. Can you explain lane splitting? Is it legal for motorcycles to do this? Well, lane splitting, quite simply, is when you split the difference between two lanes. So you have car in lane 1, car in lane 2, and that dotted line, when they ride the line, they're lane splitting. They're traveling between traffic and not where they're supposed to be. It's not lawful. It could be as simple as careless driving. That's an applicable charge. That's where you're driving without due care and attention. Yeah, you're driving carelessly. That's the least serious charge, and that's a serious charge, but it's the least serious charge that I would lay for lane splitting or lane filtering. Lane splitting could escalate to stunt driving, depending on the observations. You're zigzagging in and out of traffic. Yeah, you're traveling at a good rate of speed above the threshold of what others are doing. Could escalate from careless to stunt driving. And then, of course, if you're just a maniac, we're looking at dangerous driving under the Criminal Code of Canada, which means you're getting arrested. Well, actually, you can get arrested for stunt driving too, but one's a criminal charge and the others aren't. So you can escalate to bigger and better things depending on how much. I was talking about this in the test I did earlier, and I watched a guy, I say a guy, I have no idea, male, female, or other, on a motorcycle this morning as they went from the 404 to the Don Valley Parkway, and it was backed up. There was some congestion. And what did this rider do? Well, I watched them reach behind their rear end and fold their license plate up to avoid detection, because they know what they're doing is wrong and illegal and they shouldn't be doing it. But this particular person, I was going to use much more colorful language, but I'm going to stop it there before I say something I'll regret. Okay, moving on. Not legal. Okay. So many people want to know the answer to this question. How many times can I legally go around a roundabout in Ontario? There is no ticker, no time limit. There is no maximum number. I will tell you that if I saw someone just doing laps, I would investigate them for impaired operation. I'd be breath samples, drug recognition expert, something, because it's not normal behavior, and it's not that funny. Now, if you're interfering with traffic, if you're preventing people from doing it safely, if you're preventing pedestrians from crossing, whatever you're doing, if it's negative, there's the potential for other consequences. But simply driving around in a circle is not actually against the law. Michael says the Chips intro would be better. Copyright is lousy because it might be claimed. I imagine it would be claimed. I imagine it would have issues. However, I know people in the game. Maybe I reach out to Larry Wilcox and Eric Estrada. I could ask them. I mean, seriously, I met these people. They're amazing guys. I met them in California at an event, and I have the ability to reach out and say, hey, and maybe do that. And they're actually doing a live event. They're doing another fundraiser. Is it November? Maybe I go down and meet up with them again in person. And maybe we have that conversation, in person. Bring some challenge coins. They got a new challenge coin. Anyway, moving on. I think that's a great idea, Michael. Thank you for suggesting it. Chase says, oh, yes. And Chase, thank you again for coming up with amazing, trigger stuff. Just a reminder, I'm sure people have had their summer tires on for a while now. It's a good idea to check your tire pressure for the purpose of fuel economy, ride comfort, and safety. You're absolutely right. And if you go back a couple of episodes, was it maybe Monday's episode? I actually created using AI a tire that was melting to the pavement. And I had fully intended to make the discussion of make sure you're not driving on your winter tires anymore. It was supposed to be a discussion on that I totally forgot about entirely until now. Actually, it was until the next day, but I forgot about it again. So before we get on, okay, we'll start with Chase's thing. Yes, check your tire pressure as temperatures change. You will find that they fluctuate. They go up, they go down as it cools, it goes down. If it heats up, it goes up. So check on cold tires. You check your tire temperature on cold tires. That's what you do. But in terms of the winter tires still being operated in the summer, aside from the fact that you're going to burn them out and wear them down to nothing real soon, they don't stop faster. People think, they're like racing slicks. They're like gummy tires. They'll be so much better. No, that's not how it works. You will take longer to stop using a winter tire in summer in rain, specifically in rain, although it might also take longer to stop in other conditions. I'm not sure. But what's going to happen is we're going to do an investigation when you hit something. And we make these little notes, like what kind of tire you're running, the condition of the tire, the purpose of the tire. If you get into a collision with a winter tire in the middle of summer, do you think your insurance company might say, maybe we shouldn't pay this person? Maybe we should deny their claim? I can't speak for an insurance company, but I can certainly suggest that they make notes and they make their own determinations. And at very least, they determine what your next year's renewal rate is going to be. Tom says, I think you've done a lot to bring back respect for police. Well done. Love your show every day. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Listen, if I've done positive things for policing, I'm very honored and to have credit for any of that. However, my goal is really to help you, the people who are watching this show. If the byproduct is people say police are good, well, it's not because I'm good that police are good. Police are just good in general. There's bad actors, just like I've said in previous episodes. There's bad doctors, there's bad lawyers, there's bad clergy, there's bad people, and people put on uniforms and lie to other people, and sometimes they get through the checks that we do to make sure we're hiring only the good people. We do our best, and when we find the bad people, we get rid of the bad people. Just saying. Nick with the Vic and Civic. I like the username. Nick with the Vic and Civic. There's a lot of Vics. I mean, it worked out. Now, anyway, do you only buy things that have ick in them? just want to know. Yay or nay, photocopy of insurance slip. That is a nay. That is a nay. You must have the original slip or the electronic copy. You can't have a photocopy of that particular document. Not allowed. However, you can actually have photocopies of your motor vehicle permit, as long as it's a true copy, both sides. So insurance is original or electronic. The ownership document is original or photocopy both sides, and your driver's license is the only thing that must be absolutely original. No photocopy, no reasonable facsimile permitted. We already said hey to erratic, so erratic, I should say. We can keep going. Thank you, moderator, for moderating. I love these check marks that are here all prepared. It's so nice. Appreciate you. Dad joke for later from Michaela Draconis. And L wants to know why you need your license card and not a photo of it if you can just look it up on your system. Well, A, you not carrying it means more work for me, which is more time for the service. And that's one. Two, the law says so. So you actually have to have it. Three, there are actually security features embedded in the card. Lots of people say they're somebody else. And often when we look up online, when we're dealing with text, unless we have access to photos, how do we verify who you are other than the honor system, right? Quick story, I pulled somebody over for driving with their with their headlights out. It was late in the evening in 12th Division. And I pull up this. What was it? It was a what's that boxy Element, Honda Element, pretty sure. And the driver says, I forgot my license at home. I'm real sorry, officer. My name is this, my date of birth is that, my address is this. And that's kind of the information we would get to try and verify you are who you say you are. So I came back and I said, I'm very sorry to tell you this, but you are under suspension. And he said, my brother is suspended? What? Yeah, because he's never actually been licensed. His twin brother was licensed. And this is why you must carry your driver's license. It's one of the reasons. Just because we have the ability to look stuff up doesn't mean that it removes your responsibility to do what you're supposed to do. Yeah. But I appreciate and understand why people have the question. Let's see here. If you're backing into a parking spot on your G-test, are we able to look at our backup cameras? Interesting question. What I've been told is that most instructors or testers will cover the camera. Are you allowed to look at it? Maybe. Are you allowed to rely on it? Probably not. Yeah, talk to a driving instructor. If you haven't taken driving lessons, I really, really, really suggest you do, because it's great to learn on your own. It's great to have mom, dad, cousin, uncle, brother, whomever teach you, but they also teach you all their bad habits. And with technology being what it is today, the cars do so much for us that you're not building the same skill level as I may have had the benefit of getting in a piece of crap that didn't have backup cameras or parking sensors or any kind of luxury, anything. So build those basic skills. Oh, I have good. No, that's I did not know that about my moderator. Our moderator used to be a driving examiner. You cannot look at the camera and the examiner will tell them that. There you go. See, there were no backup cameras when I got my license the day I got my 365, which is a learner's permit in prehistoric times, but there was no backup cameras. So I got my 365, and 30 days later I had my full G. No graduated licensing for me. Good to know. Very good to know. Talked about roundabouts already. Oh, we talked about this already. I didn't understand it then. I still don't understand it now, but we already covered it. Toronto Road Chem says, welcome back. Thank you, thank you. What is this? How to become a crime scene officer with the OPP. Now, I don't know. Is a crime scene officer... do you mean like... Okay, so you have to become I'm going to assume you're talking about a police officer who works crime scenes, because there are crime scene roles that are civilianized, mostly, I think, photography, but I think they've expanded who can do the work. In any case, if you're talking about what we call FIS, forensic identification... Actually, what does FIS stand for? Oh, my goodness. I'm so used to acronyms, I don't even know the real names anymore. Anyway, our FIS, our forensics unit, they're police officers, but there are some civilians that are in there. And to be a forensic officer, you have to be a police officer. First, you have to go become a constable generalist. So you have to be a first-class constable, have some experience, and then you can apply. And I assume that OPP would have the same or similar process. All right. Let's see what this question is. Radek wants to know, can traffic enforcement special constables who are deployed in downtown Toronto on major intersections able to issue tickets for traffic offenses? So the traffic enforcement special constables, they are really there to direct traffic. And to be able to direct traffic, they are given the designation of special constable. But those are traffic wardens, and they're not enforcement officers. Could the information that they have lead to an officer laying a charge? Yes. But on their own, they don't issue tickets. That I'm aware of, unless things have changed since last I've had a conversation. I don't think that's the case. So at the moment, no, they don't issue tickets. But if you don't listen to them, it's an offense not to listen to them. They have the authority to direct traffic. If you fail to do so and they were to take, your plate and description, police officer could lay the charge after the fact. Northern Pike says, good morning, Sean and beautiful world, with an emoji wearing sunglasses. Yeah. Even if it's only me that's laughing at that, I just find the emoji description to be a funny thing. I like emojis. They're used in the most interesting way nowadays. I've been seeing videos that people are offended by thumbs up. I don't get it. Good morning from Brockville, Ontario. Happy Hump Day from Tiki Talk. People, I still call it Hump Day. It is the hump, and people thought hump was somehow dirty, but it's the hump. You know, it's the top, and then you're downhill from there, all the way to the weekend. Mike wants to know what happens when you steal from Dollarama. Well, it's theft. You can get charged, depending on the value of the items being stolen, which is you'd probably need a lot to make it over $5,000, but it's still theft, so you could get arrested. Well, the what ifs in terms of will you be held in custody or released? You're probably going to be released. But yeah, they're pretty serious about it. I gotta say, I shop at Dollarama, or what I now want to call $5 but it is some stuff that I get there that's really cheap. That's a good value. I don't buy food there though. I buy like tin foil stuff. Anyway, what's the point of my story? I keep hearing like security camera 3. People are actually stealing there, and they're actively watching. So I've never been to a call to a Dollarama. Never had to act in the capacity of a police officer at one, but I'm interested to know what they actually get. Stephen Bell says, long time no see with one of the great cops. Where do we talk? Me? Who? Or you were saying no sergeant? Sergeant's on vacation. He is not here. But Stephen Bell, good morning to you. Nice to see you. All the way from London, Ontario, I may add. Ryan LeMay. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Oh, we talked about that. Oh, no, we didn't talk about this. This is a follow-up to the discussion of lane splitting. This is lane filtering, which is really the same thing, but at a stoplight. So this is where a rider, wedges through or waddles through, or sometimes rides at high speed through stopped vehicles to get to the front of the pack so that they don't have to wait through everybody else. Now, I have a split decision on this. If you're doing it to get through the pack, to not wait in traffic, to basically just piss everybody else off, or because people think that they, I throw a lot of shade this way when I talk about it too, because the drivers hate when people do this. They're like, if I got to wait, you got to wait. Why are you driving through traffic? There's no privilege or right to do this. It's still illegal. I would have a problem with people doing it. I would issue a ticket for it. I would at very least investigate and have a discussion. But I get it. Some vehicles are running hot, like Harley sitting in traffic, air-cooled, any air-cooled engine. Not good, not fun. But you're choosing to be on a motorcycle, and you get what you get. I ride or rode full-size dressers. Like I dresser, not like a dresser in your house, but a dresser being full-dressed bags and fairing and stereo and whatnot. And they don't fit between cars. So I sat in traffic, and I never really thought about it. Now, if you're the last vehicle in a row of vehicles, or you're at a light and you're the last one, cars are coming up, and half of the people I see on the phone are driving or on the phone these days, which means that you're at risk. So to the rider who wants to move forward a couple of car lengths for their safety, I not only understand it, I accept it, I endorse it, I think it's reasonable. And if you just moved up, if a police officer pulled up to you and said, hey, what are you doing? I would assume and hope that if you said, listen, I don't want to be someone's hood ornament when they're not paying attention, so I slide up a couple of car lengths just to get out of the way for my safety, but I'm not one of those D-bags who's going to the front of the line. And I think any self-respecting police officer would say, I get you. Makes sense, right? But in terms of like blowing through and being the first on race day, I'd charge you. It's just not okay. Nash says, I love traffic. Now, I love traffic services. I love traffic enforcement. I love traffic law, but I actually hate traffic. I hate sitting in traffic. I don't think there's anything that I like less than sitting going nowhere. Like once upon a time, I used to work a 4-day week. I tried it out. The amount of traffic congestion as a result of the time of day that I was in extended my drive by an hour. I don't have to drive that far. How it took me an additional hour to get somewhere. Like I say, I tell people quite openly whenever I talk about the time to get somewhere in Toronto. Toronto is an hour away from Toronto. And if you've ever driven in the city, you know what I'm talking about. An hour away, anywhere you go in the city. I go to headquarters, it's an hour. That's like 10 kilometers away. Caden the Canadian wants to know if underglow is illegal or only while driving. So It's not specifically illegal. There's no underglow law in the Ontario Highway Traffic Act, but there are laws about headlights and taillights and direction that you can project light. So, if you have underglow that is installed in such a way that the bulbs are not visible to anyone standing anywhere around your car, and all you have is the faint glow beneath it, I think that's reflective light. I think because my interpretation of the law says that that's not projecting light forward. Sergeant Campbell perceives it as if he can see the light, then it is projected light. And it's not projected forward, though. It's projected down and reflected, but we disagree on it, which just goes to show you that every police officer will interpret these laws differently and apply them differently, which means you may have to go defend yourself in court. I'm telling you from the way that it should be, and a little bit of science there. But anyway, if your light bulb, if you've installed it poorly and the light bulb is visible, you are actually projecting it forward, at which point you cannot have you can only have white or yellow projected forward. You can only have red or yellow or amber projected rearward, and you shouldn't be projecting light sideways. But then you start getting into how much light and is it color specific or, long story short is it's not specifically legal or illegal if you're not projecting light forward or back other than the colors we just addressed, you should be okay. But best advice, don't use it while you're driving. Private property is the best. Mandeep, the realtor, says, okay, I have a question. Ask the question. Many people are doing this recently, like telling us that they have a question, but never following through with the question. Nick with the Vic repeats, I still got to know. I'll repeat it again. Nay, you cannot use a photocopy of an insurance slip. Talked about it a while ago. All right. Just a reminder to everyone watching, please, or anyone watching and participating with questions, please start your question with letter Q so I know it's a question for me and not banter amongst yourselves. And thank you to L, who's reminding people that there's a delay. Like now it's 36 minutes after 10, and I'm reading questions that came in at 13 minutes after. Let's see here. Something that Roscoe Pico Train would say, the only police service that has a ticket quotas is in the Hazard County Sheriff's Office. Who watched Dukes of Hazzard? I did. It was a good show. I don't think I could watch that now. And in fact, I try and expose my children to 70s and 80s television because I think it was the best television ever made. I mean, production quality sucked, but in terms of fun and wholesome and safe content, I really like the old school TV. Question: if I have insurance on my phone, yeah. If your insurance is on your phone, not that your phone has an insurance policy, but your insurance policy is available through a secure app on your phone, that is a legitimate way to show us or provide your insurance. But it has to, the apps, and the reason why I say not a photo, has to be from a secure app. Those apps have an ability to forward that information to a police officer, so you can email it. Like it's not just having the app as a way to securely, a verifiable way of sharing it. I think that's pretty cool. Now, if you remember back to the pandemic, that magical time, the premier said we're moving to digital ID. It has not happened. It was supposed to be at the end of that year, whatever year that was. It hasn't happened, and it's because there's so many security concerns. At least I imagine that's why, because I've read it somewhere. There's like security with people stealing your ID. What's this? What happens if someone reports for collision but no collision happened on your license plate? So someone made a false report or said you were there, but you were never there. It's possible that somebody replicated your license and was there. It's process because people steal and reproduce. We have a ton of 3D printed plates that have been seized. 3D printed, color plates, wild. Yeah. So what else can I tell you about that? You go in and you say it wasn't me, and you provide your information to police as you're required to. And you go on from there. Then they do an investigation about someone who's possibly impersonating you. Boy Mom 8424 says, good morning, Sean. And Tracy comes in with a good morning. Good morning to you. Let's see here. We've got Tom who says, when I go to OPC, will I see you instructing about social media? Oh, I've never been invited to speak at that particular place. on social media. I don't even know if they do. Oh, actually, that's not true. I went to the media relations course, which was then hosted by something called OMRON, the Ontario Media Relations Officer Network, not association. And I took the course and presented at the course at the same time because I had to get certified, and then I presented about social media. That's no longer called OMRON; the name has changed. But I don't know if they do another course at OPC. Since then, they've started doing them at different police services for not new officers, but longtime officers who are in a media relations role. Long story short is I am speaking at something called the Smile Conference. I've been invited to speak at that conference in September. That's in Florida. So I do speak and speak to police officers like the Toronto Police College at our college. I speak there, but not at OPC. But I do wish you good luck at OPC on your travels and becoming a police officer. If and let me know when that happens. Like, stay in touch. I'd love to know when you go PC. Yeah, I went to a graduation recently, and for the person whose graduation I attended, it was really cool to close the loop because they decided they wanted to become a police officer because of watching me online. And although they're not a police officer yet, they're an auxiliary police officer. I got to close the loop. They joined that volunteer role because of being on the show. Or participating on the show. And I just looked over and I'm like, I was talking about Vision Zero, and I never actually said where our officers are deployed today. I don't think I did. So just to close the loop on that, so I don't get in trouble. No one cares. Vision Zero is spending time today in 14 Division and 55 Division. Christie, Ossington, Annex, Little Italy, the beaches, Riverdale, Danforth, East York. Now I said it. Now I can close that window. Yeah, boy, start talking about stuff. Well, you know what I haven't done? I haven't shown anyone what TrafficCop.ca looks like recently. But I also want to talk about this. There we go. 2 new things on screen. Talked about that already. Do your kids listen or just roll their eyes? What do you mean? Don't all kids listen? My kids are incredibly magical. They actually listen to the show. They tell me not to speed. They tell me what other drivers on the road are doing. But they also happen to be really good kids, and I'm very lucky. So they listen. I've yet to have an eye roll. I don't think I've had an eye roll. I will say that my eldest is just now entering the time when they're starting to get a little bit of tude, just a little bit, but then they apologize after. Yeah. Let's quickly. What am I sharing on screen? I said I was going to do it, so I'm going to do it. Share screen. So first things first, I share this. This is what it looks like at TrafficCop.ca. If you go there, you will see, I'll put the TrafficCop.ca business on the screen. That's the link tree. And the link tree has, ways to, some promo stuff, like they're raising money by selling the Monopoly edition, what's it called? There's a special edition. It's behind me. See the Monopoly board? You can barely see it. That is going to raise money for charity, so that's an amazing thing. And then you can press a button and send me a message. People send me emails all the time. You can, if you want to be on the show because you're a traffic safety professional or somehow want to provide value to our audience, the Collaborate Me button sends me a message. And then there's all sorts of great links to our social media, but then useful links. This is really what I want to bring your attention to. Collision reporting. If you want to start a report, like to complain about a driver who's being dangerous in your neighborhood or someone that you witnessed doing something naughty, you can do that there. If you're a pedestrian or cyclist, you can start your collision report there and then finish it off at 14 Division. By the way, if I haven't mentioned this before, 14 Division is now the home of our pedestrian and cyclist collision reporting center. So it gives those folks who are downtown a closer place to get to. They don't take any automobile reports. They just take the side of the report from the pedestrian or cyclist. Anyway, a lot of that can be started online. Then I've got links to other stuff and things. One of them allows you to sign up for renewals for your Ontario health card, driver's license, and license plate. Now, today I started watching it, but their live stream was all messed up. They made an announcement about automatic renewal, so I hope to have more information for you tomorrow on that. I'll post videos as soon as I have details that actually don't. Well, it was just terrible video, so I could not glean information by something that was unwatchable. But you can actually renew your plates now, but I'm assuming that's going to be removed based on what I may or may not have heard online today. Anyway, lots of great information here: cycling, car seats, moving to Canada. Yeah, it is a resource for you to use. The other thing I want to talk about very quickly is the other button that I didn't press. There we go. Press that now. Employment. Oh, yes. We are hiring. I talk about it every day. We're hiring because we need more people. We need good people to come out and serve our community. And whether you want to do that as a police officer, special constable, parking enforcement officer, a communications operator, these are all important roles, and they're all in service to the community. Just because you don't wear a uniform and go on the street doesn't make you less valuable. In fact, civilian roles is my favorite link to press because it's all sorts of positions that have nothing to do with being out on the street and everything to do with making us, police officers, able to leave the station. Like there's mechanics who keep our vehicles, running. That's a major important function that, we don't take it to the service center down the street. We have our own garages. Firearms processing examiner. That's a brand new role that I've not yet seen or posting because there's currently 7 postings. Talent acquisition advisor, payroll coordinator, temporary administrative clerk, parking enforcement officer, communications operator, digital team developer. If these don't sound good to you, and you should click in and look at what they involve. Like here's a job that's 61,906 to 7677, 35 hours a week. You've got till July 10th. To apply for this. Look at this. Receive, physically examine, and verify all firearms. This could be a great job for someone. And if it's not a great job for you, it could be a great job for someone you know. So please consider referring your friends and family, people who want to work for a great organization, to www.tps.ca/careers. And they can get the process going, but they got to move quick because these positions don't stay on there forever. They get posted. They close, and then the people who have applied get, evaluated and so on. Oh, hey, I see Zombie jumped in to the live stream. Welcome, welcome. Okay. I can continue down the list of stuff and things to talk about. And I scroll too high. Oh, okay. This is a good question from Toronto Road Cams. If I provide my insurance on my phone, can the officer go through other things on my phone? You don't actually hand over the phone. I've never received insurance by way of phone. Everyone's always given me the paper because it wasn't a thing when I was on the road, and I'm no longer on the road. But my understanding is you've got to be able to send it. So you can show it. That may satisfy the officer. If we need more, there's a function within the phone that you should be able to send it to our phones. We have work phones. We all have work phones. We have work emails, and I imagine that's how it goes from there. But I would not be handing over an unlocked phone to a police officer. Just saying, because you can't control what they do afterwards. Can G2 driver on the QEW? Yes, a G2 driver can drive on any road, but there are conditions. No alcohol in their system, no drugs in their system. There's restrictions between midnight and 5 a.m. In terms of passengers under the age of 20, but they can drive on any road. And Tracy had already said, yep. U-turn at the lights, is it legal or illegal? Mandeep, the realtor, wants to know. It depends. If it can be done safely, it's legal. And it has to be on a green light, not a red light. I do not understand why people think that people can do U-turns at red lights. That is proceeding before green or running a red light, depending on what we see. So obviously, we're talking about intersections. Now, most of the intersections have a sign that says U-turn permitted. And those are the ones where that's especially approved. Obviously, you can't do it where there's signs saying no U-turn. But again, green light, not on a red light. I don't understand why people do that. Let's see here. These Lashes says, good morning. Good morning to you. Oh, a lot of bikers are hiding their license plate. What are you going to say to this, people? Well, we have a lot of bikers who don't even have license plates. We have a lot of bikers who are uninsured and unlicensed and are basically D-bags. And they're out there all over the place doing what they want until they get caught or they crash. I just said what I would say to them. I mean, I've charged many motorcycle riders, and I am a motorcyclist. I like motorcycles. I appreciate the sport. I don't like the people who make riders look bad, and that's a lot of them right now. What is this? Regan Harris says, number 3, I tried paying it online, but I can't even pay without putting a court date. Any advice? Well, you don't put a court date if you are, oh, I see what you're saying. Online, you can book a trial date. There are services that may be able to pay that, but I think you have to go to the courthouse in order to pay it. I don't think you can pay online. Like that's, I wonder, this is without, have you, okay, let's back it up. Paying online might be possible if you've been found guilty and you have a payment slip. But if you have just received the ticket and you want to pay, you can pay at any bank. So if you got the ticket, you want to just pay it off, I believe you can go to any bank and pay it. But if in terms of paying the ticket that online, but you haven't gone to court, I don't think you can do that. Parking, I think you can do it through a third-party service. Boom, boom, boom. Woody Loeb says, my aunt is a cop. She pulled someone over for that, but I couldn't find a ticket for it. For what? Unfortunately, without the context of knowing what you're talking about, and that was at 10:17, so it's a little while ago. I don't know what you were talking about. We talked about this already. J.C. Delos Reyes, how you doing? Long time no talk. Hope you're doing well. Are you in Mexico or are you in Ontario? Either way, I'm happy to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. Let's do breakfast soon. Okay. We got, we talked about this. DCB75 says, check your lug nut tightness. You know what? After you change tires, most companies will say after about 100 kilometers, come back in. We're going to do a test to make sure that we, they check the tightness. What is it called? What is it? I have the tools. I can't think of what it's called right now. It's bugging me. What is it called? What is the tool called? You set the weight, 150 pounds. I think that's what it is in the F-150. Also, I saw the F-150 has some recalls. Tension. What the frick? Hold on a second. This is bugging me like beyond words. How to... Torque wrench. Couldn't remember. Own one. Used it for years. Yeah. Torque wrench. Linda says, good morning, hero. Just a reminder to you and other heroes. Thank you. We love you all. Thank you very much, Linda. Always sending, love and appreciation towards the police. Big supporter. We appreciate you. Let's see here. Can you make a right on a red onto a double-laned road during an advanced green for oncoming traffic? Can you make a... I see what you're saying. Can you make a right on a red when there's an advanced green? So here's a couple things. One, I'm seeing everybody with a torque wrench. Everyone's just drowning it with that's fantastic. So back to DC8. The deal is that the advanced green has to be, they're entitled to make their turns. They have priority. They can make the turn if they go into the appropriate lane. The right turn is required to make sure that their turn can be completed in safety. They have to, the priority is the left turning on the green. They can make the right turn on the red if they've come to a complete stop and they're proceeding, in a safe way into their appropriate lane. Now, two things are true. One, you can think it's safe and then it becomes not so safe. And the advanced green has more priority than the person turning. If everyone's going where they're supposed to be, you're not going to have a collision. If someone does something they're not supposed to be doing, we have a problem, and each person could be related to an individual charge. So the person who makes the right turn could be, fined or charged for making an unsafe turn because it wasn't safe. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. but they are less responsible than the person who made an improper turn when they were turning to the inside lane, ended up going wide into the lane they weren't supposed to go to. So they can be charged for that too. Whether or not you actually get charged as the right turning lane person, it depends. Because more often than not, the person turning left says, well, I had the right of way, and just two stories, and we rarely get the truth. But you have to do everything you do in caution. Steven says, oh, hold on. We'll come back to that. It was flagged. Did you see the new BMW M5? No, I have not. Meow Mix says, good morning, Fuzz. Fuzz is a term, a UK term for police. It's not offensive. In fact, one of my favorite movies was Hot Fuzz. Okay, Monique says, morning. iPhone version of insurance, okay. It has to be an app from the provider. You can't just take a picture or input it yourself. Okay. I'm going to stick with stuff that is flagged, just because things are starting to scroll really fast, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So if the moderator put it in front of me, that's what I'm going to read. So Stephen Minardi says, why is it that when you have a vehicle impounded from a traffic stop and you beat the charges or have them withdrawn, you're not reimbursed for impounded fees? Seems like you're being penalized when you're not guilty yet. Well, it's funny. Those roadside measures were put in place by the ministry because people get out of charges not because they're innocent, but because of games in court. And this is not rocket science. This is not a secret. This was in articles published by newspapers in and around the time that the laws changed. And the officer caught you. The officer gave you what was or triggered a administrative penalty for the offenses you were charged with. And there's no recourse for them. You're avoiding the further penalty. For instance, if you were stunt driving, 1 to 3 year driving prohibition. Well, you don't get that, so you should be thankful. But you do get the initial, because there has to be some impact for stopping people doing what they do. Because unless this is a very unique situation, I'm assuming whatever you did to lose your car, you actually did. And if you beat it in court for a technicality, it was a technicality as opposed to being innocent. Now, I apologize in advance. If you were doing the speed limit when you got your stunt driving charge, which I think would be very unlikely, well, you can go ahead and try and sue for it or whatever you got to do and produce supporting evidence for why you think you need to get what you get. But yeah, I've never laid charges against someone who didn't do what I said they did. Just didn't happen. So, yeah, administrative penalties to avoid people from just abusing the system and getting away with, driving like maniacs. My NL car has no place on front for Ontario plate. Oh, it's a Newfoundland car, has no place in the car. Blah, blah, blah. Can I put it in front windshield until I can attach it? Well, you can do that, but it's not legal. You still get a $110 ticket for displaying it in the front, and it becomes a projectile in the event of a collision. So get a tow hook adapter. Just go directly to the store and buy a tow hook adapter, or put zip ties and put it on your grill. But there is absolutely no excuse and no alternative to putting it in the front of the vehicle, not halfway through behind glass, on the front bumper, front grill, front somewhere. But you at least have an excuse. Your vehicle shipped without that because you didn't require one where you came from. But it's not an excuse. Let's see here. I want to be a cop, but I have -7 vision. Can I still be a cop if I wear contacts? Contacts don't meet the requirement. If you go online to TrafficCop.ca TPS.ca/careers, if you go down to the requirements, it explains what you have to do. I actually had laser surgery. I just started wearing glasses again because I'm old. But I went for a long time without requiring glasses, and it was magical. But I did surgery to do that. Things like orthokeratotomy are not permitted. That's where you wear special contact lenses while you sleep, and they basically putting your eye in a jello mold. They correct your vision temporarily, but then your eye kind of reverts back to its pre-jello molded state. And I don't even know how much correction you can get with -7, because -7 doesn't mean anything to me. But if you're really serious about it, get it. You can get it taken care of. If you don't want to change your vision, become a court officer, become a special constable. Actually, as a court officer, you didn't have to have perfect vision. I don't know if special constable, there's an easy way to find out. Hang on a second. TPS.ca careers. If I go to special constable, let's see if there's a vision requirement. Because it used to be historically that people who became court officers couldn't pass the vision test. And I don't see a vision requirement here. It says grade 12, 18 years old, not criminally convicted, license certification. Come on, anything else? Shuttle run pre-screening, possess valid OACP, shuttle run. I don't see anything about vision. So you might be able to get in as a without having and this is something because it's also not cheap to get laser surgery or any surgery because it's elective and not covered that I'm aware of. So you could get hired as a special constable and make money and save up for that and get it done later. But you have a job and then become a police officer later. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Abby says, good morning. If I'm driving and I get a call and I have to use my phone to answer the call, I pull over to the side and turn on the flasher and use my phone. Is there anything I'm doing wrong? Yes, you're actually not legally permitted to do that. People will say, but why? He's doing everything safe. And it is safer than driving and touching your phone. However, you must be legally parked in order to touch your telephone if it's not mounted. So if you are mounted, if the phone is mounted, well, whether it's a vent mount or a suction cup, preferably not one that's obscuring your vision as a driver because that could lead to other charges. But if it's mounted, you're legally permitted to answer by swipe or touch the call. So put it on speakerphone. In fact, most vehicles or most phones will allow you to say, answer the call on speaker. You can say, hey, Siri. Tried to put the pause there. So, my phone responded anyway. Yeah, you should be able to answer it with voice on speaker, but if it's mounted, you can actually touch it momentarily for the purposes of swiping and answering and hanging up. But pulling over and touching your phone is not legal because as soon as you are touching your phone in a spot other than a legal parking spot, you are eligible for a charge. People do it all the time. They pull over in no stopping zones and no parking zones and use their phone and they get charged. Okay. What documents must you produce in a rental car? Oh, very good. So you need to have your license, ownership, and insurance in a rental contract. Technically, I don't think the rental contract is actually, well, I've always asked for it. I don't know if it's actually supported by any specific law, but it's good to have. Just in case, it's good to have. Because how do you justify that you're the person that's supposed to be there? But at the end of the day, we don't enforce if the rental contract says you can drive. We enforce if you're a licensed driver driving an insured vehicle with all the documents properly in order. I got to ask now, rental contract. Once in a while, we talk about things and I go, don't remember. Rental docs. Maybe it is required. Okay. Oh. If my car is wrapped with vinyl, should it be registered with the wrap color or original color? It's a great question. And the answer is the wrap color. If your vehicle is red under the paint, or the paint is red, and you put purple, green, orange, polka dots, whatever, on the wrap, and now there's nothing red visible, I'm going to pull that car over because it doesn't match. And I'm going to investigate to see if someone stole your license plate and then put it on their car that is similar, but a different color. That's one of the biggest reasons we pull people over is to investigate those anomalies. And you're required by law to change that information within 6 days of making the change, or you can be charged. So $110 fine for not changing it, but also wasting your time getting pulled over every 6 blocks by every police officer that sees you and runs your plate and recognizes that things don't match. Stephen Bell says, I would like to thank you guys for what you guys do 24/7, 365. I'm so fascinated with the first responders. Well, first of all, you're welcome, but thank you for the thank you. We really appreciate the support. We are here to help people. Police are just people helping people. That's what we do. And that's what we signed up for. Is it an HTA infraction turning left on a red? We're physically in the intersection at the time. Oh, if you enter the intersection on a green and it turns red, you are legally required to clear that intersection. In fact, if you don't clear the intersection, you can be eligible for a ticket. So it's not against the law to do what you are legally required to do, which is clear the intersection. Entering the intersection where you have no place to go and being caught stuck there, failing to clear the signalized intersection, like I said, that's a charge. If I'm a G2 driver and I borrow my dad's car, don't have a copy of the ownership or insurance, is it a ticket? Blicken wants to know the answer. And the answer is, you're the driver. You don't borrow the car without the documents. Otherwise, you get the ticket. So if you are stopped in your dad's car, and you don't have a copy of the ownership, ticket $110, and you don't have a copy of the insurance, $65. Loads of fun, right? Before you borrow a car, ask for those documents. Take a photocopy. Keep it with you. I always say don't leave anything in your car. Certainly don't keep your originals in the car. I leave nothing in my car because I don't want someone to break in and know where I live. In terms of insurance, the insurance companies send multiple copies. I think they send me 6. I'm the only driver. I have 6 copies of my insurance card. So it lives in my wallet. I never leave without it. Can you drive someone else's car if you're not on the insurance? Depends. I mean, yes, legally, police pull you over, license, ownership, and insurance, as long as you provide those documents, you're okay. As long as you're a licensed driver for that class of vehicle, you're legal. But if you get into a collision and you're not on their insurance or you're someone who's specifically prohibited from being insured on that vehicle, because they could say, okay, Ruby can drive, but nobody else can drive that car because everyone's under the age of 25 in that house, and no one under the age of 25 can drive. So that means that if you loan it to someone under the age of 25, they would likely deny the claim because you violated the contract of coverage. There you go. But otherwise, you can borrow someone else's car. You just have to have their insurance documents, all their documents. If my mom goes to pick up my daughter but doesn't have a car seat, can she just buckle her up? No. If your child requires a child safety restraint, it's to keep them safe in the event of a collision, because they could die if the child's not secured properly. I'm a certified child safety restraint technician, CPST, child passenger safety technician. I don't even know what my own designation is. But yeah, bad things happen. Depending on the age, really, really, really bad things happen. At a certain age, you need rear facing. All the things you should know already as a parent with a child that goes in a car. But absolutely, I charge people with children, or used to charge people with children in the car all the time. I had somebody pull up to me. I was working a traffic point at Pride, and half the people were looking to meet Justin Trudeau. I don't know why people were asking me where Justin Trudeau was, but everyone was asking me where Trudeau was. And then one guy pulls up, not looking for Trudeau, looking for directions, and he had like 6 children in the back seat. 6 children, no car seats, all requiring some level of safety restraint in addition to the seatbelt. Like there was either a couple of children who needed boosters and a couple that needed forward facing, and he could not leave, and he got charged for every child. Yeah, grandmas are not exempt. Buses, taxis, they are. So your mother could go pick up your daughter in a taxi, not an Uber. Uber's not exempt. Let's see here. Diana wants to know what the steps are after a car collision from minor to major damage. That's a reasonable and good question that we've not talked about in a while. First off, there's directions as to what to do. Actually, maybe we pull that on screen. Let's do that. Let me pull up the website because it's so much easier to go through and talk to these points. Let's see here. TrafficCop.ca. I have a link. I want to make sure I have a link. So TrafficCop.ca. And you go to collision reporting. Let's pull it up on screen. Oh, I got to press one more button. There's the button pressed. So collision reporting. If the total damage amongst all vehicles are under $2,000, which is, they've talked about changing it to $5,000, but right now it's $2,000, then a report isn't required. You have to exchange information with all parties, but that's it. Now, unless there's criminality, impaired driving, lack of insurance or license or things like that. But here's what it says. Excuse me. When will police attend a collision? If it involves a fatality, which I think is pretty basic. I think everyone figured that one out. If the collision involves a serious personal injury where the person is transported to a hospital by ambulance, then we will attend and do the report there. Criminal activity, impaired driving, stolen vehicle assault, also I think fairly obvious. Where there's dealing with collisions involving the transportation of dangerous goods, uninsured persons, uninsured or suspended. We'll attend for that. And this is where you wait and the police come and we do all the report and everything is done. Okay. Collision report damage to private, municipal, or highway property, so we'll attend for that as well. If you hit a pedestrian or cyclist, obviously we'll be attending, assuming they stay. If they decide, nah, I'm not waiting 2 hours for the cops to come, because sometimes that takes that long, I'm booking it. You exchange information, they can call police later, they'll get directed to a collision reporting center. And then you'd be able to do the same thing. Yeah. And if it's between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. where the vehicle's not drivable. Basically, we look for impaired drivers at that time. So, but the deal is that you, I like this. It says, establish if anyone is hurt. I could have started with this. What do you do if you're in a collision? I like this. Establish if anyone is hurt. That's good advice. And you can call 911 if anyone's hurt. You need an immediate response by police, fire, or ambulance. I like that. It says, take a breath. This is a stressful situation. This is good advice. Clear the road. So this is, again, a big thing. People sit in the middle of the road blocking roadways forever. They're exchanging information. They're standing in the middle of the 401 after a collision. Cars are drivable, and they're discussing, the sports scores. No. If you are in a collision and the vehicles are drivable and there's nobody seriously injured, you make plans to get off the road and go to a safe place. Yeah. At very least, on Toronto roads, you get over to the curb lane or the first side street. You could also call 911 and take direction from the call taker, who will tell you what to do. Amazing how many people say that no, they're not going to move the car. They take direction, or they refuse direction from the police, call taker. So assess the damage, because you are capable of doing this. If the vehicles have over $2,000 combined damage, you must report it to the collision. Report the collision to the police immediately. To a collision reporting center. If damages are minor, please contact your insurance company and talk about the options. When we say immediately, sometimes we don't need immediately. So if it's a snowstorm and everyone's piling up, you're going to be there for hours. It's going to be more dangerous to send you to the collision reporting center from where you are. Take a breath, like it says, and come back when it's not a snowstorm, like a day later, 2 days later, depending on the situation. We're absolutely, supporting that. Exchanging information is a requirement under law, and that's where you're going to need to give your license, ownership, and insurance. Get all the information about the vehicle. I'd say take pictures with your phone. Take pictures of everything with your phone. Even the license, ownership, and insurance. It's easier than, especially in the winter days. I know we're in summer now, but winter days where you're trying to get your pen to work. You got a smartphone, use it. Hey, it says taking a picture. Hey, it says do. Should have read ahead. Talk to witnesses. Although I find it lately that there are very few people willing to be witnesses, they tend not to care unless they can put it on TikTok. But talk to people. If someone is a witness and is willing to put their pen to paper or be truly be a witness, not just say I saw that. They're great to have witnesses. So what else can I tell you about that? If you think it's minor and it turns out to be major, so you think it's under $2,000, you go to the body shop to fix the dent, and the dent is $10,000. Obviously, now you need to go and report it. Now you're obligated, and it's reasonable that you were wrong. Like that's why we want to see the change from $2,000 to $5,000, because a scratch on a Mercedes can be $5,000. And it's $5,000, or sorry, it's $2,000 amongst all vehicles involved. Now, how realistic is it that two vehicles have damage and together it's under $2,000? It's like every vehicle is reportable right now. But let's say you thought that the little dent, the size of the end of my pen, was only $200, but it turned out to be a lot more. You go and report it. One other suggestion is I would exchange telephone numbers in addition to or emails, and maybe you have an email address that isn't your main one. Like maybe you don't want to have your telephone number because telephone numbers are quite personal, and maybe Diana, you don't want the dude who rear-ended you to call you at 3:00 in the morning to follow up and ask how you're doing, because really he's just being a creep. That's possible. Maybe have an email address way of contacting somebody, and maybe have a Gmail account that isn't your main, so you can ignore it or filter it. I think that's actually a good idea. Maybe I have to make a video about that. Anyway, Diane, I hope that answers your question to your satisfaction. If not, let me know if you need more. Let's see here. Good morning. I was given 3 tickets in early December. I've disputed them and have heard nothing back. December till now is not that long. It could take 6 months. But if you are concerned and want to ensure that you haven't missed out on anything, I would contact the courts. But 6 months is, I wouldn't start getting nervous at 6 months. At a year, maybe, possibly. Sergio says, any information on service plates? When can you use them? Are there time restrictions? Service plates are generally for the delivery of new vehicles or testing of vehicles. So if you're a mechanic, and I think we're talking about the same thing, if you're a mechanic using it, or is that a mechanic plate? Is that different than service plate? Hang on, I got to look it up because there's so many different plates now. There's factory plates, which I think get lumped into service plate. But hang on a second. Ontario service plate. Let me look this up in the system. By system, I mean the Google. Now I want to talk to one of our guys down in the commercial motor vehicle section. I don't have a lot of experience or dealing with them. Mechanics plates, which I want to say is the same thing. I've laid a bunch of charges on people who were like test driving customers' vehicles in the club district. They weren't allowed to do that. But Sergio, do me a favor. Go to TrafficCop.ca. Use the send me a message tab. Send me an email. That way I have your email address. I can just email you back. It's TrafficCop.ca, and I will get back to you. What is this? Sometime people putting high beam in HOV lane and forcing you to do speeding. What should we do? Well, nobody is forcing you to speed. You choose to speed because someone high beams you. I think that they should take some yoga classes and chill out, because I don't speed because someone wants me to. I don't speed because someone high beams me. I don't speed. So if I'm in the HOV lane, it's not a passing lane. It's the high occupancy vehicle lane, allowing me to move faster than slow moving traffic that is, congested because they only have one person in their car and you have 2. So they can sit and spin. Like, I don't go faster, and you shouldn't either. And if the person who's trying to get you to go faster is being aggressive, then they're responsible for what they're doing. But don't get bullied. Don't get bullied on the road. Is it illegal to drive down the highway or any road with your 4-ways on? Amanda, I'm so glad you brought this up. It is the most annoying thing that I see when people drive around with their 4-ways on. They're ineffective. They're not intended for use while driving. They signify a hazard on the road. If you're a hazard on the road, don't drive. It's for vehicles that are stopped. I was in fog driving back. Actually, I was driving back from the Ontario Police College because I'd been there for a course. And on the way back, it was so thick, the fog, that you couldn't see in front of you, like very, very short. Well, I kept seeing this hazard in front of me that I never got any closer to. And I was concerned that it was, what do you call it? It's like a lighthouse, the lighthouse that kept moving. It made no sense. If you're traveling slowly, you can see what you can see. You have to adjust your speed to what you can see. Can't drive faster than you can see. I can't stop saying you can see. But yeah, no one should be driving with their hazards on. It is for when you're pulled over to mark yourself as disabled vehicle. It's not illegal. Can you drive without plates with custom plates in private property such as malls and restaurants? Why? Why? Like, you don't need plates on private property because you don't need a license on private property. But why? Like, you're going to take off your plates and then why? The only thing is you actually, now I have to reconsider that, because you can be charged for stunt driving on private property. Criminally, we can investigate and charge you for driving offenses on private property. But and you can be charged on private property for there's one plate related charge, and I think it's for which one is it? Highway Traffic Act under plates. Let's do a quick thing here. What is it? Is it confused identity? Failed to provide the face. Is it the confused? I can't think of what it is. But there is a plate related thing. So taking it off, confused identity of plate. No number other than the number upon the number plate furnished by the ministry shall be exposed to any part of the motor vehicle or trailer. I wonder. It's an arrestable offense. I just don't. Is simply removing it an offense? Again, I need to look into that because I've never been asked that question. But why? Why would you take your plates off on private property? I mean, you could have, if you had a show car and you wanted to, it's a car show situation. I'm flip-flopping. I don't know. Why is clear license plate cover considered a ticket if you can clearly see the plate? Reflections, distortions, filters like polarization that prevents cameras from reading it. Anything that covers your license plate is prohibited, even if it's a license plate frame. Now, in reality, if I'm driving around and I can see your plate, I see your plate. I'm not pulling you over for a plate cover that doesn't obscure the plate. Personally, I'm not bothering with that. I can't imagine anyone actually doing it. And to support that is I don't know anybody who's ever received a ticket for a clear plate cover that is actually clear. The problem is they fade, they get dirty, they get moisture, all sorts of things that prevent you from seeing it. So if I can't see the plate, that's why I'm looking at you. If I can see the plate, I've already moved past you. But it's technically not legal. Just by the way, it's 20 minutes after 11. No new questions. If you ask a new question that's not flagged, I'm not going to take anymore. But I'm going to work through the ones that are here. Okay. I had a ticket and I requested a trial online, but it's been months with no trial. Is that normal? Absolutely. Things are real slow. Are you allowed to live in one province and drive a car that is registered in another? Broke my pen clip. If you are no, you're not. So, well, yes, you can borrow it, you can use it temporarily, but you cannot register a vehicle out of province. So if you have, like Quebec, for instance, a lot of people do this. It's called fraud. So they move to Ontario, but they have their parents or a friend or somebody with a mailing address, and they keep an address in Quebec because the insurance there is cheaper. So they conduct fraud where they say they live there, but they actually live here. So once you move to Ontario, you become a resident. Your vehicle has to be registered in Ontario within 30 days, and your license must be converted within 60. If you're not doing that, you're breaking the law. Diana has another question. I like the questions. Why do the Canadian Armed Forces and vets have a poppy on their license plates? Is it just out of respect for service? It is an option to get veterans plates. And if you have service with the military, you're eligible to get them. I don't believe there's a fee, and then those plates occasionally get you benefits. For instance, it's to represent and honor the troops, but and as one, they get privileges like on Veterans Day. I don't think they pay for parking if they have those plates. But it's a good question. I kind of regret that I didn't get a Star Trek one. Apparently, they had a Star Trek plate. There's a guy I follow online who was talking about the Ontario Star Trek plate. Apparently, they made very few of them before they realized that they didn't have a license to produce them. It was they were violating copyright. So those plates are very rare now. And not that I'm a big trekker. It's just that I really, I just thought it was cool. Anyway, what's the PC before Sean for? Police Constable. That's what PC stands for. It's the rank. PC is the abbreviation for Police Constable. SGT would be the abbreviation for Sergeant, of which I am not. Are electric scooter illegal? Electric scooter being kick scooter, stand-up scooter, or like thing that looks like a Cafe Vino scooter, two-wheel motorcycle-y, moped-y thing. E-kick scooters are not legal in Toronto, but there is a pilot program in place for the province of Ontario that allows them to be operated in certain conditions, assuming they follow certain conditions. So it depends, but they're totally prohibited in the city of Toronto. Can I explain Project Erase? There's not much to explain. It stands for eradicate. What does it stand for? Eradicate race. Oh, come on. I was going to say street racing, but hang on. No. Erase project. No. There's a lot of people using this. Come on. And street racing. Oh, wait, maybe it's. Hang on a second. Eliminate racing activity on streets everywhere. It's a horrible acronym. Thank you to the moderator. I want to say street racing, but because I associate racing with street racing, I messed myself up. So it's eliminate racing activity on streets everywhere. The acronym that looks good on paper, but actually stinks when you say it out loud. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is keep roads safe, and people who are out there putting lives at risk, acting like jerks on the road. That's what people who are street racing are. I'm name calling now. Yeah, it's not okay. So we're out there doing heavy enforcement on modifications that are illegal, or heavy enforcement on road activity that's illegal, and it's all with an eye to make the streets safer for everybody. Angela wants to know about sidewalk sweepers on the road yesterday. No license plate. Are they exempt? I don't know exactly where they fall. They're like golf carts with vacuum cleaners. I don't know if they require plates because they're under contract with the city in the city. Like they're city vehicles. But I've often wondered that. I see them. I know they're allowed to be there. I don't know how they're allowed to be there, but I don't think they qualify or require for license plates because I don't think they meet motor vehicle status for whatever reason. How are the interviews like for TPS? That is a good question. It's been a while since I've had one. They used to be behavioral events, and I don't know what the current process is. My best suggestion to you would be to contact a recruiter and walk through with that. They want to basically find out who you are and what you're about. So the questions are going to be, talking about a time in your life when you dealt with some stuff and things, and how did you respond? But I don't know how the current system is. Are resonator mods allowed? It doesn't make the car louder. It just makes it sound more beefy. You're required to have a resonator. It's part of your muffler and exhaust system. So if you take it out, you don't have it anymore. It may make it noisier. You say it changes the sound, but it actually does change the sound in a negative way, even if you don't agree. And apparently they're required. So is that the biggest thing you could do or the worst thing you could do? Probably not, but could wind you up getting a ticket. Can you pass on a solid yellow if it's safe? There's no law in Ontario about crossing lines, so you could, in fact, do that. But if you caused a collision, you'd be entirely responsible. Oh, I have a trip to Michigan coming up. Can I drive in Michigan with an Ontario G1 license? So technically, you can't drive in anywhere with a G1 license because it's not a license. It's a learner's permit. You have to be supervised by a qualified G-class driver. Now, Michigan, I called Michigan State Troopers to discuss this because, technically speaking, a G1 is not transferable nor eligible for use outside of the province of Ontario. But they are not sure. My suggestion is you're a noob driver, you're learning. Driving cross-country is not the time to learn. Driving into Michigan is definitely not the time to learn. It is a different world driving in Michigan. I'm going to Michigan soon too, but the deal is it's likely not eligible, despite the confusion of the officer I was speaking with for the investigation. So if you were to move out of province with a G1, you would have to apply for the learner's permit of that location. It's not intended for you. It's not transferable. So I would say err on the side of caution. Don't drive outside of the province of Ontario. What is this? If someone is under the influence, are they allowed to rest in the vehicle if they leave the keys in the trunk? Well, if they have access to those keys, then no, because what's to stop them from popping the trunk door and getting them out of the trunk? You don't show the intention to drive, but the problem is you can change your mind and have the intent later whilst still drunk. I've had people who drank, went home, woke up the next day, got in the car, drove, rear-ended someone, and then I arrested them for impaired driving after having slept all night. So what does it change if you have the keys in the trunk and then wake up and say, I'm going to go drive now? You would absolutely get arrested. Can I bring my grandpa's car from the U.S. and drive in Ontario? Is there any catch with it? Yes, there is. So if you are driving the vehicle here and you are not importing it legally, the RCMP, and by as an extension, the police service investigating, can seize that car for failing to import it properly, paying duties and taxes. I have done this a number of times in my career where I've dealt with a vehicle that was clearly inside the country and being driven by someone who is not. So an American car must be driven by an American person, American driver. A Canadian cannot, according to the RCMP and the discussions I've had, as it's all flowing back to me, you can't drive an American car in Canada. You can rent an American car in America, but you cannot take an American person's car or an American plated car and drive it in Ontario because you're violating that import taxes. So quick story is I investigated a collision involving a gentleman who's driving a BMW X5. And they were trying to make a left turn out of a gas station on Jane Street, and someone hit them, destroyed the car. Florida plates on the car, and in the investigation, he's got an Ontario license. So we look it up, or I look it up because I'm alone. I don't know why I say we, and I find that he's got a letter from his daughter in Florida saying this car belongs to me. I've given permissions for my father to use this vehicle in Ontario. It was like 2 years old, the notarized document, and called the RCMP, found out when the vehicle entered the country, and the vehicle was seized, impounded, and they emailed me many moons later to tell me the consequences. So aside from the fact that they had two options. One, pay for the towing for the vehicle to be towed to the U.S. border and pay like a $50,000 fine, or pay the duties and taxes and pay a reduced fine and import the vehicle legally. It was a big deal, but they are very serious about that. So there's the catch with it. You cannot do what you want to do. Can I use my Sudanese driving license when I come to Toronto? Are you moving? Are you visiting? What's the story? I don't know if license from Sudan is acceptable, to be quite honest. I can tell you that, and I'm about to do the same thing, is if you go to ASKaTrafficCop.ca, did I not spell that right? Why is it not going? Try it on this one. Oh, it's already here. So if you go down to new residents and visitors, there's a link at the bottom, and most places are accepted. But if your license isn't accepted for moving here, like you get no credit, you may have difficulty. Many, I should say, places are accepted, but not all. And you should check in advance and possibly get an international driving permit if your license is not in English. That's another issue. Now, if you're moving here, that's a different story entirely because many places are not accepted, in terms of what you can convert to. If you come from the UK, you hand us your license, you get an Ontario license. Not everywhere is like that. Okay. What is this? Oh, Stephen Minardi wants to know if I know the percentage increase in traffic stops since license plate auto scanners came into play. Also, how do day-to-day traffic police feel about the increased workload that it brings to them? Well, they are being used specifically for major stuff, warrants. They're looking for suspended drivers. It's not for everyday stuff. We're not stopping everybody with an expired license. It would be overwhelming. I don't have any stats as to how many more, but there's a lot of people getting stopped for not necessarily because of the automatic license plate readers, but because of the fact that our officers are diligent, working hard to do it. I don't have any stats though. What is this? For how long will I still be positive for breathalyzer after I drink alcohol? It's totally different for everybody. It depends on how much alcohol. It takes however much time it takes to get the alcohol out of your system. So you can't say it's like 10 minutes. It's not a specific number. It's different for every single person, and it depends. Okay. Dad joke. Did you hear about the stormtrooper who couldn't see out of his helmet? He didn't know what he was missing. There's a whole joke about, hold on. There's a whole deal about stormtroopers not being able to hit the broadside of a barn. Car Clinic Hybrid wants to know about service plate restrictions explained in depth. I love that you ask for an in-depth. I don't have an in-depth. Service plate restrictions are used for testing. Well, we talked about this already. I got to look into it. So you can be, if it's a different person, you can go and ask in the email link, and we will go and respond to you offline as well. All right, it's 11:34. I am expired. I need to go offline and do other stuff and things, but it's been a blast. I'll be back tomorrow. I think that's fair. 10 o'clock. What do you think? Join me tomorrow. If you got questions, we'll try and get through those. I see Jeremy, who has questions about riding a bicycle on the sidewalk, and just because I noticed it, I'm going to put it on screen. You can't ride a bicycle on the sidewalk in the city of Toronto unless you're under the age of 14. It'd be 13 or younger, and that's the story. So don't have a good day. Have a great day. Stay safe. Drive sober, and we will. What is this? One question I have. I got pulled over for not giving the cops the insurance. What? I said I'm going away, and I saw this pop up. One question I have. A question I got pulled over. How do you get pulled over for not giving the cop insurance? Wouldn't you have already spoken to the officer and then not given them insurance and then got a ticket for it? It's hard for us not to. Your question makes no sense. But we very often, what do you call it? We very often pull people over to check the status of insurance. That's perfectly legit. And Jeremy, you have a great day too. And I'm really saying goodbye now, but you know what I'm doing? As I say goodbye, I'm going to lead with my new favorite video, and that's the Toronto Police recruiting video. And I'm going to play that for you now, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Your future career starts with a vision. A vision of opportunities ahead, where you can see a path to a noble career, serving the city of Toronto. Where do you see yourself? Toronto Police Service. Apply today.